Today I'm going to show you how to make this simple jig to cut your own shims. I'm Ron Paulk, and this is the Smart Wood Shop. If you want to get a set of plans to build a smart wood shop for yourself, the Paulk Smart Big Bench, the Paulk Smart Bench, or the Paulk Smart Station, there is a link in the description of this video down below. My wife has set it up so that all the robots are working 24/7, 365. You purchase a set of plans. Within minutes, you'll receive an email with a download link at the bottom of that. You click on that and you can download the plans instantaneously. That's every holiday, every weekend, middle of the night, or better yet, right now. I like making my own shims. I think they're better than the ones that you can purchase in the store. I definitely don't like cedar. I like building them out of Doug fir framing lumber. I make these 9 inches long, and they have a very thin tip, so they're very pointed. And with this jig, I can make them both thick and thin. And best of all, they're free. I pick up framing lumber, little cutoffs from job sites, my own job sites, as well as I can run around to many job sites, ask permission, but they'll have cutoffs. They only need to be 9 inches long, and it can be 2 by anything, 4, 6, 8. The wider the better, because you get more shims out of it. Keep these little chunks out of the landfill and put them to good use. I made this shim cutter years ago, and there's a video here on my channel to show you exactly how I did it. Over the years though, I've changed table saws. I started with this with a rail on it that rode in the miter track on the table saw I had at the time. And then I switched over to these saw stops, and their miter gauge was in a different spot. And rather than building a new one, I just cut off that track off the bottom and am using the fence now to guide it. The beauty of this, I'm finding, is that I have this table saw as well as the battery operated DeWalt, and their track is in a different location, and I'm able to use this jig on either of my table saws. Today I'm going to make this to show you how easy it is. Now the handle I'm not going to make. You can see how I made this handle in that first video. I laid this out using a 1-gallon paint can and then a smaller can to get this curve. I drilled a couple of holes and then cut it out to create this, and I built just one, and then I built a couple of more for other things. I like this handle so much, you can see that I have it on my push blocks, and pretty much any jig or fixture that needs a handle, it's the one I use. So I went ahead and took the time to make up a template with a piece of 1/2 inch plywood, 12 millimeter plywood, and I made it nice and neat and clean. And now I take this one and I attach it to 3/4 18 mil plywood with a couple of screws. I can use double stick tape, but I just use the screws. I don't mind a couple of holes in the handle. And then I use my router and I just route it out, and I can make these in about a minute, and they're exactly the same every time. Since I'm making this from scratch, I am going to make it a little bit wider than this one, and mainly because I noticed that because of the height of this fence, my hand is kind of pushing down and wants to push it away. So I'm going to have it so the fence is a little further away and my hand will be away from the fence. But other than that, it's going to be the same dimensions of this one. The overall width is going to be 200 millimeters and the length is going to be 240 millimeters. The imperial numbers would be about 8 by 9.5. I have the original one to scribe, but you don't have that. So let's figure out what the cut would be. From the back edge on the saw blade side, I'm going to measure up 22 millimeters, or 7/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to measure in from the cutting edge 13 millimeters, or just over 1/2 inch. I'm going to draw a straight line to that mark from the tip, but I'm actually not going to go right to the tip. I'm going to make it flat down for about 20 millimeters. So now I'll connect those two marks with a straight edge, and I have no idea what the angle is. There is a stepped cut, and that will allow me to get both thick and thin shims. And that measurement is up 15 from the bottom, or the back edge, and in 5 millimeters. With it all marked out, I'm going to remove the waste. Three-quarter plywood is far from three-quarter. It's around 11/16, but I find that it's all 18 millimeters, at least the plywood in my area. So it's really easy now. I want to have the screw go into the center of this, so I'm going to come over from the edge 9 millimeters to set the screws. If you have any questions about how well these dust collection bags on Festool works, this is a solid brick right now of sawdust, completely packed with flour. One more piece to make, the hole down. 90 millimeters by 35 millimeters. Before I cut it to length, I'll make the notch. The notch is going to be up from the bottom, 18 millimeters. And in from the edge, 30 millimeters. The Capex has the ability to flip this lever down and then dial in how far you want the blade to cut through. It's really handy when I'm wanting to do just a couple of quick dados or notches like this, because you know if you cut it on a table saw, because of the curvature of the blade, you know you have to be careful of overcutting. And so with it being this small, I could get very little cutting done on the table saw and have to hand cut the rest. So it was pretty quick and easy just to make about 10 or 15 little cuts. While I'm here, I'll flip it out of that dado mode and go ahead and cut it to length. I think I said it was about 90 millimeters. 90 millimeters is too close for the stop to come in, and this is where the stop here that I made comes in handy. So 400 millimeters means I'll make it 490. So I'm setting it in 25 millimeters from the edge, and I am flushing up the outside with the outside. Let's go to the table saw and see if it works. To set the fence, I'll raise the blade up and bring it up so that the edge of the jig doesn't quite touch the blade. The further away it is, the thicker the tip will be. And I'm going to back it off, maybe about 2 or 3 millimeters. So I'm a nice little gap there. My framing lumber is cut to exactly 9 inches. I'll set the height of the blade so that it will be just a little bit higher than the thickness of the material. You need to be very careful from doing this. We have a blade that's raised up pretty high. We are also not using a guard because it won't work with this fixture. So I want to keep my hands as far away from that spinning blade as possible. I do have a saw stop, so I have the second chance the brake will go off. And it's really the only saw that I want, table saw that I want to use because of that. But even with that, I don't want to trip it. I don't want to take any chances. Plus, it costs money to change the brake in the blade. I want to be safe even with this built-in safety. So I'm going to use a block to push this piece through. So I'll have my hands both in these handles, and I will be pushing all the way through and being careful to keep my eye on the blade. I don't want to be moving my hand. When the blade is spinning, and any tool you're using, that should be your main focus, is that spinning blade. So keep your eye on it. 2 9-inch pieces of 2x6 waste, and I have that many shims, both thick and thin. And what I like about whether they're thick or thin, the ends are very tapered, almost sharp. When you're hanging doors and you're running them in from either side, these are just absolutely perfect, and they move a lot less, hold a lot better than the typical cedar shims that you can buy in the store. If you like these how-to videos, if you've learned anything, if you'd like to see me make more, you can support the channel by giving me a thumbs up and subscribing. And remember, when you subscribe, to ring that bell. Thanks for dropping into the Smart Wood Shop. You stay safe and have a great day.